There is a feeling unique to the modern mind, a low, constant hum of anxiety, a sense that no matter what you achieve, how much you plan, or how well organized your life appears to be, you are perpetually perched on the edge of something. It is the subtle, pervasive tension of a mind that is always bracing itself, bracing for the next email, the next headline, the next problem, or simply the next moment, just in case it isn't what was expected. This is the mind that lives in the future, a future that, by its very nature, never arrives. Now, let us explore the profound wisdom found not in adding more, but in letting go. We live in an age that celebrates the plan. We are taught from our earliest days to map the unknown, to secure our tomorrows, to build a formidable defense against the uncertainties of life. We are encouraged to build careers, savings accounts, and strategies that act as a fortress against the unpredictable. We believe that if we can just think hard enough, plan meticulously enough, and control enough variables, we can construct a life of permanent safety. And yet, where has this led us? It has led us to a state of profound internal division. We have become split. On one hand, there is the organism, the living, breathing, feeling self that exists only in this present moment. It is simply here, now, sensing the air, hearing these words, feeling the simple reality of being. On the other hand, there is the idea of ourselves, the I, the ego. This I is a collection of memories, hopes, and fears. It is a concept we have built, and its primary function is self-preservation. But because this I is just a concept, it cannot feel secure. It can only think about security. This conceptual I is the planner, the warrior, the strategist. It lives in the abstract world of tomorrow. It looks at the living, flowing, unpredictable reality of the present and sees only a threat. It sees a problem to be solved, a chaos to be ordered, and so it begins its impossible project, the project of making life stand still, the project of nailing down the future, of turning the fluid river of existence into a solid, predictable block of ice. This is the root of our anxiety. Anxiety is not, as we are often told, a malfunction. It is not a disease. It is the perfectly natural, perfectly logical consequence of a mind attempting to do the impossible. It is the friction generated when our desire for permanence grinds against the reality of a world that is fundamentally, beautifully, and inescapably fluid. We are like a person trying to build a perfectly rigid tower out of flowing water. The effort is immense. The focus is total, and the result is, and always will be, failure and exhaustion. This exhaustion, this constant, wearying effort, is what we call anxiety. Consider the common experience of overthinking. The mind loops, analyzes, and projects. What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? How can I prevent this failure or secure that outcome? This mental machinery is not broken. It is merely misapplied. It is a problem-solving tool that, in the absence of a concrete, immediate problem, has turned on life itself. It treats the unknown as the ultimate problem to be solved, but the unknown is not a problem. It is simply the nature of reality. The modern mind has been trained to be an exquisite instrument of control. We seek security through accumulation, not just of things, but of knowledge, of plans, of assurances. We believe that if we can just know what is coming, we will be safe. But this is the great illusion. The more we try to know the future, the more we separate ourselves from the present, which is the only place life is actually happening. The pursuit of security is, in fact, the very thing that creates our deep feeling of insecurity, Why? Because the project is doomed from the start. Every time we lay a plan for tomorrow, we are reinforcing the idea that today is not safe. We are training our nervous system to live in a state of perpetual anticipation, a state of not yet. When we operate this way, we are no longer living. We are preparing to live. We are always on the threshold, always packing our bags, but never, ever beginning the journey. This is the ordinary world of our hero's journey, the internal landscape where so many of us reside. It is a world governed by the belief that life is a series of threats to be managed, and that peace is something to be achieved in the future. Once all variables are under control, we are trying to find a fixed point in a universe that is defined by its very motion. We are seeking permanence in a place where the only constant is change. This is the great cosmic joke. We are anxious because we are trying to be secure. We are tense because we are trying to relax. We are suffering because we are desperately trying not to suffer. The common approaches to this problem only dig us deeper into the trap. We are told to manage our anxiety. We are given new strategies for planning, new technique for control, new ways to optimize our thinking. But this is just offering a more efficient shovel to the man digging his own hole. It is reinforcing the core delusion, the delusion that you, the conceptual, thinking I can and should be in control of the uncontrollable flow of life. The problem is not the content of our thoughts, the specific worries about money or health or relationships. The problem is the process itself. The problem is the belief that by thinking, we can create a fortress. But the fortress is the prison. The very walls we build to keep out insecurity are the walls that lock us out of life itself. We are left safe, perhaps, but sterile. We are left secure, but not alive. We are clinging to a mental abstraction of life, while the real, visceral, unpredictable, and glorious dance of existence passes us by, right here, right now. So, what if the fortress is the problem? What if the entire project of securing the self is a profound misunderstanding of who and what we are? This is the central trial, the great encounter with the mentor's wisdom. It is the moment in the journey where we must confront the strategy that has guided our entire life and see it for what it is, a beautiful, complex, and utterly futile defense against reality. The wisdom we are seeking is not a new strategy. It is not a cleverer way to build the fortress. It is the simple, terrifying, and liberating realization that we do not need one. The core insight is this: the state of being we call insecurity is not a threat to be overcome. It is the very condition of life itself. Life is flux. Life is change. Life is the unknown unfolding. To demand security, to demand a fixed and predictable future, is to demand that life stop being life. It is to ask for a living death. We have been taught to fight this. The I, that conceptual self we spoke of, the collection of memories and anxieties, sees this flux as its mortal enemy, because a concept cannot be in flux. A memory is fixed. A plan is static, and so this I tries to make the world conform to its own static nature. It tries to hold on to the water of life, and the tighter it squeezes, the faster it loses it. This is the great struggle. We are at war with the very medium in which we exist. Imagine you are in a flowing river. The mind of anxiety, the mind trained to seek security, immediately looks for something to grab. It finds a branch on the bank and clings to it. It holds on with all its might, fighting the current. The water, which is just flowing naturally, now feels like a violent enemy. It pulls and tears. The body becomes rigid, tense, and exhausted. The mind is filled with the terror of letting go, because it equates letting go with drowning, with destruction. This is the state of anxiety. It is the state of clinging to a fixed position in a moving world. Now, What is the alternative? The alternative is to let go of the branch. At first, this is an act of pure terror. This is the trial. The mind screams that you will be lost, that you will be destroyed. But a moment after you let go, something miraculous happens. You discover that you can swim. You discover that the water, which felt like an enemy, is actually your support. You discover that by yielding to the current, by joining the flow, you can move with it. You are no longer fighting life. You are living it. You are, in this state, completely insecure. You have no fixed position. You have no solid ground. You do not know what is around the next bend. And yet, you are perfectly safe. You are free. You are alive. This is the wisdom of insecurity. It is the discovery that security is not found in clinging to the bank, but in the skill of swimming. It is a dynamic process, not a static position. The mind, our conceptual eye, cannot swim. It can only cling. This is why this wisdom is so resisted. It requires a shift of identity. It asks us to stop identifying with the clinger, the bundle of thoughts, plans, and fears, and to start identifying with the awareness that is simply here, experiencing the flow. We are terrified of the future because we are trying to live there in our imagination. We are trying to solve problems that do not yet exist, but we cannot live in the future. We can only live in this precise, fleeting, and eternal now. Consider the act of listening to music. When you listen to a symphony, what is the point? Is the goal of the music to reach the final chord? If that were true, the greatest symphonies would be a single, abrupt, final note. The fastest orchestra would be the best, but that is, of course, absurd. The point of the music is the unfolding of it, the movement from one note to the next. The entire experience is a process of notes that are born and die in every instant. You are not trying to hold on to the note that just passed. You are not anxiously anticipating the note that is to come. You are simply present for the transition, for the flow. Life, in its deepest sense, is a musical composition. The security-seeking mind is the person who is trying to get to the end of the song. It is listening to the first movement, but thinking about the finale. It is here, but wanting to be there. As a result, it hears nothing. It misses the music. This is how we miss our lives. We are so busy trying to secure a future finale, a point of arrival where we will finally be safe, retired, or happy that we miss the music of the present moment. We treat this moment, the only one we ever have, as a mere stepping stone, something to be rushed through, a problem to be endured on the way to the real goal. And so, we arrive at the end of our lives, having never truly heard the song. The great trial of this journey is to stop this striving. It is to challenge the deep cultural hypnosis that tells us you must be in control. You cannot control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. This is the difference between the anxious mind and the wise mind. The anxious mind is the navigator who is furious at the sea. He tries to nail his ship to the ocean floor. He curses the wind for not blowing in the direction of his plan. He lives in a state of constant, rigid opposition to the elements. The wise mind is the navigator who has faith in the water. This is not a blind faith in a future outcome. It is a present, active faith in his own ability to respond to what is. He accepts the wind as it is, and the water as it is. His security lies not in a fixed plan, but in his dynamic responsiveness. He is in a relationship with the unknown, not at war with it. To adopt this perspective is to fundamentally reframe our world. Insecurity is no longer a word for fear. It becomes a word for freedom. Not knowing is no longer a state of deficit. It becomes a state of wonder. This is the desire we are awakening. the desire for what this feels like. It feels like the profound bodily relaxation of a nervous system that is no longer bracing itself. It is the end of the internal war. It is the cessation of the mind's impossible project. When you stop trying to be secure, you discover that you are. When you stop trying to grasp the future, you find that your hands are perfectly, wonderfully full of the present. The mentor's insight is simply this: stop fighting. Let go of the branch. You will not drown. You will, for the first time, or begin to swim. You will discover that the river you thought was your enemy is, in fact, the source of all your life. This shift in perception is the final and most profound act of the journey. It is the return with the victory. We have let go of the branch. We are in the river. We have discovered, in that moment of surrender, that we are not drowning. We are, in fact, supported by the very flow we once resisted. But how do we live from this place? How does a mind that has only ever known clinging learn to swim? The victory is not a new, indestructible fortress. The victory is the realization that the fortress was never needed. The practical insight is not a new set of rules for controlling life. It is the practice of no longer trying to. This begins by fundamentally changing the relationship we have with our own thoughts. We are accustomed to identifying with our thoughts. We believe we are the warrior, the planner, the voice in the skull. This is the I that clings. The practice, then, is to gently and without aggression shift our identity. We stop being the thinker and we become the awareness in which the thinking happens. This is not a suppression of thought. We do not fight the anxious mind. That is just another form of resistance, another way of clinging. Instead, we allow the thinking mind to do what it does, but we no longer give it the throne. We treat our anxious thoughts as we would treat the weather. We notice them. The mind is projecting into the future again. It is producing the what-if story. We see it, we acknowledge it, and we let it pass. We do not engage in an argument with a cloud. We do not try to fix a sound that enters the ear. In the same way, we stop trying to fix our anxious thoughts. We simply let them be. And in being left alone, they lose their power. They are no longer fueled by our resistance to them. When this shift begins to take root, the very meaning of insecurity is transformed. The word itself changes its emotional texture. It is no longer a synonym for danger or fear. It becomes a synonym for freedom and possibility. Think of it: to be perfectly secure is to be fixed, to be finished, to be locked in place. A life that is completely predictable, with no surprises and no unknowns, is a life that is sterile. It is a story whose ending is already written. It is a song that is only the final held chord. But a life that is insecure is a life that is open. It is a blank page. It is a musical piece that is still being composed, still unfolding in ways that can delight and surprise. This is the freedom of the flow. The anxious, security-seeking mind wants to know the future. It wants a guarantee. The wise mind, the mind that swims, is content not to know. It is comfortable in the unknown because it has found a different kind of faith. This is not a faith in a positive outcome. It is not a blind belief that everything will be okay. It is a faith in our own capacity to meet life as it actually unfolds. It is a trust in the same profound intelligence that knows how to beat our heart, how to heal a cut, and how to move the tides. We do not try to digest our food. We allow it. The practice is to extend this same fundamental trust to our lives. So, we return to our ordinary world, to the emails, the deadlines, and the responsibilities, but we are not the same. We are no longer the rigid, terrified clinger on the riverbank. We are the swimmer. We still make plans, we still save for the future. But we do so with a light touch. We understand that a plan is only a proposal, an educated guess, not a contract with reality. We hold our goals, but we are no longer attached to them in a way that chokes the present moment. When anxiety arises, and it will, for it is a lifetime's habit, we no longer see it as an enemy to be defeated. We see it as a signal. It is the mind's old alarm, warning us that we have, once again, begun to cling. It is a gentle reminder, inviting us to let go, to unclench the mental fist, to come back to the breath, to the present moment, to the flow. This is the true resolution. The problem of anxiety is not solved. It is dissolved. We do not overcome insecurity. We transcend the need for security. We have discovered that the only true security lies in the absolute letting go. So as this journey concludes, let your attention settle. Feel the simple, vital, and ever-changing reality of this moment. You are not a separate I fighting against the world. You are the flow. There is nothing to hold on to. And in that, you find you are holding everything